They helped me reach 1,000 subscribers. I never imagined I would become the kind of man who questioned the woman I trusted more than anyone else. For 9 years, Emily had been my calm, my steady support, the one person who could silence the chaos in my mind just by being close. I didn't just love her, I depended on her. Maybe that's exactly why what happened felt like the earth had vanished beneath my feet. It all began on an ordinary Tuesday. There was nothing unusual about the day. I was cleaning the kitchen while Emily was in the shower. Her phone vibrated on the counter. I had no intention of checking it. I was never that kind of husband. But the notification stayed on the screen just long enough for me to read the message. Tonight's the night. A winking face. Can't wait to finally have you all to myself. My chest tightened so suddenly that it felt as if something inside me had ripped apart. The screen went dark again, but I had already seen everything I needed to see. For the rest of the day, I desperately searched for another explanation. I convinced myself it might be an inside joke that I wasn't meant to understand. Maybe I was reading too much into it. Anything to avoid accepting what it seemed so clearly to mean. That evening, she told me she was meeting her coworker, Laura, for dinner. She had mentioned Laura a lot lately, almost too often, as if the name had become routine. When I offered to drive her there, she turned me down far too quickly and couldn't even meet my eyes. Something deep inside me quietly changed. It felt like a part of me that had been asleep was finally waking up. I didn't say a single word. I simply let her walk out. Then, after 10 minutes of restless pacing and heavy silence, I picked up my keys and followed her. Not because I had a plan, but because the truth was pulling me toward it. She wasn't at the restaurant she had mentioned. Instead, her car was parked outside a small boutique hotel near the old industrial district. It was the kind of place you drove past without ever giving it a second thought. My hands trembled as I switched off the engine and sat there watching. A few moments later, I saw her step out of her car. She was wearing a black dress I had never seen before. It was form-fitting, low-cut, and clearly chosen for a reason. She glanced at her reflection in the window, brushed her fingers through her hair, and smiled. Then, he appeared. David, her new boss. I recognized him from company events, email conversations, and the way she always spoke about him with just a little too much warmth. I watched the way they looked at each other, and in that instant, something inside me quietly shattered. It wasn't a dramatic explosion, it simply broke. I could have stayed in the car, I could have waited, I could have driven away. But a calm, steady voice inside my mind whispered, "Go. Don't text. Don't call. Just go." So I did. The hotel lobby carried the sharp scent of lemon cleaner. The clerk didn't even look up as time passed. I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel anything at all. It was as if I were watching myself from somewhere beyond my own body. I stepped into the elevator and rode it to the 3rd floor. The hallway was dimly lit, the soft carpet quiet beneath my feet. I walked past one door after another until I finally saw it. Her purse rested on the floor like a silent sign. Room 312. Then I heard laughter from inside. Hers and his. Soft, familiar, and intimate. I knocked. Instantly, everything went silent. Faint footsteps shuffled. Something inside was accidentally knocked over. Then her voice came, weak and trembling. "Who is it?" "It's me," I answered. She slowly opened the door just enough for me to see everything. Her hair was tousled, her dress only halfway fastened. David stood behind her with his shirt hanging open, his face flushed. None of us said a single word. The silence dragged on until it felt as though even the walls were holding their breath. She finally began to stammer. "Ethan, wait. Let me explain." I simply shook my head. "You don't have to." I turned and started walking away, but before I left I heard David quietly mutter, "He wasn't supposed to come tonight. Wasn't supposed to." Those words confirmed everything I had fought so hard to deny. I walked away without yelling, without slamming the door, only quiet footsteps followed by a long, empty drive home. the cold night air rushing through the open windows as I searched desperately to feel something, anything at all. When she finally came home later, her bags were already packed beside the door. The spare keys rested on the counter. She cried. She grabbed my arm. She begged. She insisted she hadn't gone through with it, that she stopped before anything truly happened. But even the intention to betray is its own kind of betrayal. The only words I said were, "You left tonight. I'm just catching up." After that, she moved in with her sister. A month went by. The divorce was finalized without any arguments. She didn't fight over anything. Maybe she felt ashamed. Maybe she was exhausted. Or maybe she finally understood that I was no longer the same man standing before her. I began putting my life back together. Slowly and quietly I ran every morning. I cooked dinner for one. I learned how to embrace a silence that no longer caused pain. Bit by bit, the weight on my heart began to disappear. Then, one evening, I received a handwritten letter with no return address. It was from her. She wrote, "That night, I believed I was choosing something thrilling, something different. But the moment I heard your voice outside that door, I realized the only man I had ever truly loved was the one I had broken. You didn't simply walk away. You took with you every version of love I will ever believe in." I never replied. I folded the letter, placed it away, and allowed time to do what only time can do. Now, whenever I drive past that hotel, it no longer hurts. It doesn't make me angry. It simply reminds me of the night I didn't lose the person I loved. Instead, I found myself again. I once believed that love meant forgiving everything. Now I understand that real love never places you in a situation where forgiveness is needed in the first place.